At the same time, TA early on, level 1 to 3, you don't have the added range from the side blades, so Mars can kind of just play like he's playing against a melee hero. You kind of bully out with a bulwark and spear, so you can kind of still manage it for the first 3 levels. Past that point, it can get a bit dicey with the TA, as she can just sit further back and farm up safely. So we'll see. I think Talon could use something like that on mid just to handle the refraction down the line. Lilgun do pick up the Lesh, so they're giving themselves that early tempo from the mid lane now. They've got early push, they've got a lot of aggression, they have set up for the split Earth here with a Bane Nightmare at the very least, and they can kind of just buy space out for that TA, but Talon do go back to the Gabby special Morphling. So they go back to the Morph. They've got Dark Willow Morphling here, Mike. Ags is a viable pick here if they want to, and that could make it pretty tough for Lilgun in the late game, because Ags Morphling with a couple of items, that's a lot of damage for the Dark Willow form there.
Absolutely. I mean, you've also got the morph into the breaker this game as well for Gabby, so you could always take that Spirit Breaker form if you do get a chance and just start charging like a maniac. But I do agree the Dark Willow form can be just as entertaining, Jonathan. Very, very fun to watch the combo of the morph Dark Willow if it does come out. So final banouts to come here for both sides. It does seem like Lilgun have a very aggressive early style of draft, which we do love to see from this team. Very different to, say, the last draft, where they were very reliant on the Naga Siren to just farm up. It's just complete opposite this time around for Lilgun. I wonder how they close out, though. Like, what are they lacking here? It does feel like they're just lacking a support, like just a pos 4. Unless you're doing the whole Spirit Breaker pos 4 thing and just giving 11 something else.
You could shift that way. Like, Spirit Breaker support isn't bad at all. Like, it still scales, you can still get the Ags down the line, you can still get everything you need if you're given enough space, and there will be space, especially if you do find the early aggression lining up here for Lilgun. We'll have to see. You do see offlane bans from Talon as well. They take out the Viper, they take out the OD, so they kind of just want to secure a good start for the Morph. Don't want to have to deal with any of those in the offlane. As a Morphling, it tends to get really dicey, especially the OD with a Meteor Hammer down the line. You can just melt through Morphling's mana, prevent him from strength shifting, and that causes a lot of issues for the durability of Gabby. So we'll see. I think Lilgun could just go with a Spirit Breaker support. Options for the offlane here. You've got the Lesh, you've got the TA. Surprisingly, Tidehunter has been left in. That could give them so much needed team fight in Lilgun as well, if they want to go that way. Tide into Morph isn't the best lane though. Like, it's not like you immediately pressure the Morphling out. He can sit back, he's ranged, he doesn't really mind. If he's in trouble, he can just waveform away as well. So might not be the easiest time with a Tide. They go with the Io instead. So Io Spirit Breaker combination, Mike. The move speed combos there. Tether up, get more move speed on the Spirit Breaker, get the overcharge on for even more damage. That can be really aggressive, and they've got a lot of presence now globally. Once Relocate is up, they can just jump all across the map, have the Spirit Breaker charge in, relocate the TA, relocate the Leshrac in, and just keep taking these fights on a very good tempo.
Yeah, you kind of question whether the Talon are going to be able to kind of ride out the storm here against Lilgun. It just seems so aggressive after that 10-15 minute mark. The Talon, their final pickup, I mean, they are still lacking a mid lane here for Makoto. Definitely need some kind of tempo setting hero here. You don't have the Ember to go back to, which is a little bit unfortunate here for Talon. I suppose you could still go for the other spirits. Void Spirit's still there if Makoto wants to run that, but it doesn't seem anywhere near as good. Kind of sad they banned out the Viper for themselves. They won't have that option either.
Yeah, I feel like the Viper would have worked really well, especially since you're having to deal with the TA down line, so you've got a great way of just keeping her down, melting through refraction every single time. There are options like, say, Lina mid up against Lesh can be a lane that you can manage. It is another greedy Cordo. They go with a Kunkka instead, so they've got some durability to play with. They've got the X to keep the IO or the partner in place. So they've got a way of kind of running around here. Teamfight's also pretty good here for Talon. Arena plus Boat plus Torrent is really good. Down the line, you can get the Torrent Storm as well. So there's a lot of AoE control coming out from Talon now. And this is something Mikado plays to a very high level. You know, he's one of the top, he's one of the 3 Kunkka players of C. That, when you say Kunkka mid, his name comes into mind as well. So something they fall back to for Talon. Up against a Lesh, it's not the easiest lane. Like the Leshrac does have a lot of damage to pump out there. And Kunkka is going to have to run up, Tidebringer to wave. Sure, you can kind of clear it out safely without worrying about mana, but the trading from Lesh can get dicey, especially once you hit, say, I think for Leshrac, it's really like level 4 that shines. Once you have, like, say, a 1-2-1 build, that's when the Leshrac can really get online. Or a 2-0-2. We've seen either kind of build shine out. I think recently it has been emphasis on Lightning Storm and Split Earth, but that is still really good against a melee matchup there, Mike.
Well, give it to me straight, John. Do you have more faith in Lilgun's draft here, or do you think Talon can force this to a game number 3?
It's really close draft-wise. I do like the momentum on Lilgun a little bit more. I like that they have this big win condition on your TA for Sanctity on the safe lane, the Leshrac to set the tempo early on. They've got the Ire to relocate, great buff for the TA or Spirit Breaker, relocate plays with charge. I think Lilgun has a lot of ways to work this game out. Not to say Talon's completely outdrafted. Again, down the line, if you do get Ags on Gabby with the Dark Willow form to turn into, that can get pretty spicy. And even a Kunkka, like you can turn into Kunkka, and I believe you should be able to get Torrent Storm. So that could be one way to go about it for Talon. I think the Ags build up for Gabby is probably the way to go. I don't see the E-Blade being a high priority, especially when you're up against Io. I mean, you could burst down the Io first, but I think you leave that to the other heroes and just kind of aim to this big core that's nearly impossible to kill off.
We'll get into it, John. Game number 2 between Talon Esports and Lilgun. Talon. I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Because for Talon, they've already kind of secured their spot in Div 2. They don't have any chance of going up now. They don't really have any chance of going down either, so definitely a good spot here for Talon, but I suppose for Talon Esports, you still just want to get every win you can get. Finish the tour off as strongly as possible. Lilgun, I do really like this draft. I'm a big fan of these aggressive style of drafts.
Oh, yeah.
I do like the ending with the IO as well. I know you already pointed out the bonus movement speed and the relocate being available now for Lilgun, but it just feels like if they win out these lanes, there's just no slowing them down anymore.
Yeah, like once this lineup gets going, objectives will just melt. They've got a lot they could play with here on the side of Lilgun. Interesting use of pause, because right at this, as they pause on Lilgun's end, Mikado gets a disconnect as well. So fascinating timing there. He sees the second, he's like, all right, I'm going to reconnect as well. Hyde's going to reconnect as well. It is the Southeast Asian server, Mike. We get a lot of stuff here. Even if you're in boot camp, those connections can still act up.
Yeah. If you can disconnect on somebody else's pause time, John, you'd rather do that. So, Talon, getting a bit of a free pause time for themselves. Nothing wrong with that. Hyde has reconnected.
Will come later, when you least expect it.
Looks like we do have the go-win ready, so we should be going whenever. Potentially a level 1 team fight to break out. Though it doesn't seem like Talon are too interested in those level 1 fights at the moment either. So we'll just let this one go. Let's go for that even split of the 2-for-2 bounty runes.
30 seconds to battle.
I don't think you really want to fight until Lilgun's level 1. They have so much control with a Lesh, with a Bane, with a Spirit Breaker, with a Charger Bash. You don't really want to fight into that. Kunkka doesn't really go level 1 Torrent. You have to have the Tidebringer, so you don't have counter control coming out from him. You've got the Ogre who could go for stun. You could have the Spear from Mars. It's just not the same. So, gonna play it safe here, trade evenly, and that should lead to no excitement here for the bounties.
The battle begins.
Oh well, everything's fine here for both sides as we'll start off with the bot lane again. You've got KP there on that Mars. This time around Hyde, he's going to be playing that Dark Willow. And of course, they are going to be against Ace 12 on the Bane and 4-2-3 on that position 1 Leshrac. See how well KP can try to slow down 4-2-3 here, and I think it's just going to be very important, at the very least, to give him a difficult lane and make sure he doesn't just dominate the lane. Keep in mind, though, you do have some very nice setup for the Split Earth with that support Bane being around. But of course, once you have a few levels in that Diabolic Edict, there is certainly going to be some kill threat here against Talon Esports.
Yeah. You can kind of run up, force KP away. You've got a lot of magic damage to rip through the high HP of KP, so you can kind of make that work. And again, you've got the Nightmare setup for that Split Earth as well. So lots of ways for 4-2-3 to run that safely. And Lesh, they do shift out the lane. I'm kind of surprised for that. I don't think Leshrac versus Kunkka's all too bad. But you are already seeing Mikoto drop low from trading with Sanctity, so that early meld build for Sanctity on mid is already paying off, and that does lead to a better time. If 4-2-3 is holding fine against the Mars, then you're perfectly fine having TA versus Kunkka, because once Refraction's up, Kunkka can melt through it with a Torrent, but he's got to land it every single time.
Well, certainly so, and Mikoto right now, he's been pump faking those Torrents, but none of them being thrown out quite as yet. There's one now, Sanctity, he will cop it. Does also give a meld strike away. Still Mikoto. He'll go for a bit of a chase, but you've got another refraction up. Sanctity playing a little bit on the edge there, but so is Mikoto. I suppose it really does just take one torrent for Mikoto to set up a very nice kill for himself. As he continues to just pump fake those torrents over and over again. For old Sanctity just going to be clenching those butt cheeks, but torrent this time around does land. Problem was there was no refraction to really ward off here for Mikoto, so just a bit of damage, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, and I think as long as those torrents are kind of baited out while Sanctity isn't completely vulnerable and he has a refraction right after, you're pretty fine with that. Again, you're already seeing Sanctity kind of work the lane, but it's not like you're shutting down Mikoto, so it's a farm trading lane. Level 6 spike is where it's at, and I think Mikoto's got the stronger 6 spike. Just because you've got the boat, whereas the traps kind of help you get vision out to slow the damage isn't particularly amazing early on in the game. So let's see if Mikoto can get that done, but you still have to respect Sanctity. His range is big. Every time he runs up to the creep wave, it's hard for Mikoto to trade back.
Of course, we'll go to that last lane as well. Top lane, you've got Gabby there along with Fly, and 11 again with Kishka. Well, 11, he's getting those bashes going. We've seen this one before. Charge out, Gabby. How unlucky do you get? He'll waveform forward onto Kishka, and that'll be first blood to go the way of Talon, as they'll try onto 11 now. And it looks like they might just have him. Fly does give the tips away, and there's your Fire Blast out. So that'll be a double kill for Gabby. And this time around, John, no crazy lucky bashes.
Nope. No lucky bashes means Gabby gets to run away with murder. A great start already for Talon in this top lane. Gabby not really being slowed down as well by the Spirit Breaker. He is still finding his farm. Fly doing a great job of just putting his body forward. You still have to watch for those level spikes though from Lilgun. Again, level 3, level 4 starts to feel a lot better. You get a lot of damage out, and if you get lucky with those bashes this time around, that's where the difference lies. Of course, you have to respect the overcharge as well. Lots of durability that can come out while the tether's running. Gabby doesn't have, say, the instant heal combinations with his support here. So if you drop low, you're going to need salves, and Fly's going to have to sacrifice a lot of his own economy to get that done here.
That he does. Because, I mean, as long as Gabby's finding these kills and farming, they'll be happy. They understand if they can get a great lead here on Gabby, they may be able to put a stop to what Lilgun's intending to do with this draft. Gabby does get charged up, but there'll be no follow-up here with Kishka. Just constantly threatening the life of the Morphling, but Gabby just does not seem too nervous. In the meantime, every other lane quite quiet right now. I mean, Sanctity just chilling there with Mikoto, both just trading farm evenly, fighting over those water runes, but they will be able to secure one each. Same goes for bot lane as well, John. Just not really too much pressure being applied. It does seem like 4-2-3 is having a very smooth time here in the Leshrac. Again, I think it is rather hard for them to really apply that pressure into 4-2-3, because he will always be able to turn with the Diabolic Edict, and you just don't really want to risk your own life trying to chase down this kill. So they just won't bother. They'll just leave 4-2-3 be.
Yep. That is giving the Leshrac a bit more of an open lane, so you can expect those early timings to shoot up, the early levels to start pouring out. And that is a cause of concern. Level 6 is a very big spike for the Lesh. Ace 12 does catch out high, though, and he's fairly low.
No brain sap, though. Or at least not enough mana for it, otherwise he probably would have just kept chasing. Clarity up now, but a bit too late. Still, it is just a very comfortable game for both teams thus far. As Sanctity just really starting to get out of control now on this TA, John, so the Kunkka matchup hasn't really affected Sanctity whatsoever. We saw a couple nice torrents being landed, but again, Sanctity, he's just not pressured.
Yeah, and that is going to be an issue. Like, this TA having such a smooth laning start means that it will get the space it needs to farm. You don't expect Leshrac to eat too much farming space. They're making moves on KP here as well.
They're gonna try KP. Yeah, he's just gonna melt. Even that level 1 Diabolic Edict is just too much damage, but well, this time around it was level 2, so 4-2-3 taking a very easy kill for himself. Hyde wasn't really there to help out, as he looks like he TP'd mid to fill the bottle up of Mikoto. That will cost the life of the offlane Mars.
And that's a great pickup for 4-2-3 to start running. Again, Leshrac, once it has the levels, can set the aggression there. Making moves onto Sanctity, though.
He got the regen room, but we'll see how worthwhile it is for Sanctities. He is completely surrounded. So you got the power rune, but it's certainly not worth the life of the TA. And Makoto, he looks very happy about that.
It's a great pickup. They finally keep a lid on that TA for just a bit longer. Again, that level 6 spike on the Kunkka is a lot bigger for him compared to the TA there. Like, the traps just don't provide as much for you. It can get you vision out, can help you farm, but in terms of an engagement, not quite the impact you want. So, good start still for Talon. Gabby.
Double bash. Still, they are going to be able to turn now onto Kishka, so the bashes just weren't proving to be enough yet. 11 will try to force them back though, and he is doing a decent job of it. And they won't really be able to keep the chase going, so Kishka this time will be fine. Although I could say the same for Talon. It does seem like Gabby is not going to die at this laning stage.
Yep. Just sitting back, just building up on the Morph, trying to hit those early times. He is rushing the Lincoln, so he wants some protection from the charge and from the Nether Strike, and that should provide him with enough. Just that moment of canceling off a stun can kind of allow him to shift on the attribute. So it's going to help massively once that's up. You're already seeing 4-2-3 as well, just keeping that bot lane shoved in. Has the level 2 Edict up, has his level 6. He can just kind of force KP back every single time and keep Hyde pinned in this lane. If this Dark Willow isn't rotating, it's missing out on a lot of kill opportunities for the Kunkka.
Well, Hyde's going to get Nightmare up now. Ace 12 this time does have plenty of mana for the Brain Tap, but it looks like he is going to be lacking a bit of damage as Hyde. He's going to try to run. KP will rotate along with Makoto to try and set up for a nice easy support kill, and it looks like they have it as well. As Ace 12, he's going to buy out some time, but that's about all he can do. That kill will go towards the Kunkka. I suppose Hyde, it wasn't really his intention to set up that kill, but he does do it anyway.
Not the biggest kill. That does buy a lot of space out for 4-2-3 on his safe lane, so I don't think they'll mind too much, as the Leshrac now has a 2-level lead. Well, 1-level lead, as level 6 does pop out for KP. But if you leave this Leshrac alone for too long, that timing into the Eternal Shroud can be a bit scary. That's when Leshrac really shines. He can start to cancel off his mana issues, a lot more durable in the front line as well, and can just basically solo push a tower if you're not careful.
Gabby's going to jump top lane, but never mind that, because mid lane, they found Ace 12 again. Sanctity is around to help, but he is still just a TA. There's not much he could have done. Still, he'll try and move on to Fly, but Makoto and Hyde, they're going to be around to try and help out. Sanctity, he will get rooted up, and now with the Cursed Crown, it's going to make it a lot harder to keep going after that Ogre kill. So he'll try to turn onto Makoto, but the Torrent Boat's going to fly in. Kishka's still keeping the man alive, but for how long? With the X back now, Refraction is back and available as 4-2-3's rotated on the Leshrac. Charges out from 11. They've got Makoto down, and it looks like Fly, he is not going to be able to escape either. So the IO heals just paying off as nobody focused down Kishka. Everybody trying to burst down Sanctity, but they just didn't have enough damage.
You really have to respect that IO. The sustain coming through onto Sanctity was just way too much. They don't have the burst damage coming through from Talon. They don't have the levels up to really go for that burst as well. That is buying time for Gabby now to farm up, but you sacrifice a lot. You do need initial farm there on your Kunkka to really get rolling here.
Gabby's going to move in on to 11 though. Another charge is back up in 1 second, and he'll have the mana for it with the Soul Ring, but the Bramble's Mace is going to be there to cancel that off. And eventually 11 should just be dead, and will be. Is Gabby able to pick up his 3rd kill of the game on the Morphling? That'll just keep elevating his own net worth now, John. He'll sit at 2nd place, just behind 4-2-3. And speaking of the devil, here he comes, 4-2-3. Does show up top lane, but does not end up landing the Split Earth. So Gabby, just walk away, leave the tier 1 tower to just drop.
It's a big tower take though. That's gonna have to force Gabby away to farm elsewhere. He can kind of take the jungle now with a Ring of Health. At the very least, he's going to have some regen on hand. But it's not the comfiest spot for the Morph. They could look to shift him down onto the bot lane. KP's already making some moves on that bot tier 1. So once that tier 1 tower is gone, with the trade in play, you can take that bot jungle as well. Keen to see Gabby as well. I mean, after the Lincolns, he is still going for the E-Blade. So we're not seeing the Ags rush to play with a Dark Willow form. They just want some burst damage, and that can help. Again, if you focus down the Aya with the E-Blade, take him out of the picture,
that's
you remove a
nice.
lot of the durability from Lilgun, and that could be the play for Talon. Just immediately jump the back line, kill off that pesky Io, clean up the rest afterwards, and get running from there.
We are still just going to have to wait out this pause here from Lilgun as 11. It'll take a bit more time to reconnect himself here into this game number 2. State of the game, though, I mean, it is still a very slight net worth lead here for Lilgun, and I mean, all things being said and done, it's very concerning here for Talon that 423 is still farming so well. And it's Sanctity's right behind him, so you've got a TA to be worried about as well as a Leshrac. And I get concerned because Gabby, I mean, he's going for a Lincoln Sphere, John, but it's a very defensive kind of build-up here in the Morph. Very easily cancelled as well with the charge.
It really is, and I mean, canceling off charge is still pretty important for Gabby. Canceling off maybe, I think it's more of a cancel for the immediate Fiend's Grip. I mean, you still have the Nightmare, you still have Brain Sap, you still have Enfeeble, but just to prevent that Fiend's Grip from the fog is pretty big for Gabby. If he sees it pop, he's got an opportunity to still attribute shift and not get caught completely off guard. That buys time for Talon to respond. So I think that's the mindset behind that Lincoln's pickup, and in that sense, I don't mind it too much, but it has to pay off. You can't see Gabby just die for no reason once the Lincoln's is up. The team has to be ready to play behind him as sort of like bait to lure in that movement here and kind of try to turn it around once they commit too hard on him.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of committing, though, bot lane, they've got KP, and with the relocate out, they'll land the split earth, 4-2-3. Able to take a nice pick off for himself, is now 11. Will just charge down Makoto, but a nice man to dodge there. Fly. They'll try to turn, but the Nether Strike and the Fiend's Grip out into the double stun here from 4-2-3. Oh, they just played that one like a fiddle, John. The boat does come in at the last moment, but what does it matter? They're already dead.
Yeah, it's just that timing we talked about as well there, Mike. With the relocate on the R, you can be all over the map. You can take your Leshrac along, just have your Spirit Breaker charge in, and just cause all sorts of havoc across the entire map. And Talon can't respond the same way. They just don't have that mobility. They don't have that early damage coming through. They have to keep playing this slow game that Talon loves. They will find Ace 12 at the very least.
Yeah, but what's it going to cost? Hyde does pick up the kill. 4-2-3 now. He may have gone a bit too far, but never mind. He'll turn back in onto KP as the spear does push him to the low ground for some reason. Just terrorize. They won't be committed. They will be able to get the Bane as a free pick-off, though. Oh, as I say that, Makoto, he may have gone too far. Charge is going to land as well, locking him down, and there's your bash out. Makoto, he is still alive. He's going to make it out of there. But it damn was a close call. As 4-2-3, still going back to that mid-tier 1 tower. Won't be able to secure it in the end. Can just go for a quick reset, though, and probably just come back with the Diabolic Edict, and I imagine eventually next time around they should be just fine to fully commit.
And this is where it gets really tough for Talon. Again, you look at the initial items here on the heroes fight. 4-2-3 has that Eternal Shroud. He's a lot harder to kill. He's got Spell Lifesteal to sustain himself up front. He's got Io to back him up. Your Spirit Breaker, you know, rushing that Shadow Blade. And once that's up and running as well, you're going to have to plant a lot of sentries to prevent that move. And Talon are running as a unit of 3, though, looking for some pickoffs. But if it's only the Bane you're finding every single time, it just doesn't feel worthwhile here, Mike.
Well, they won't even find that, John. Ace 12 does a really nice job of just using the trees to just hide in the fog. Makoto, he could never get the X off. Talon Esports, while they're not too far behind here, they're just not really finding anything. I mean, you've always got to be very afraid, though, right? Because you've always got the relocate with 4-2-3 and Kishka. So any team fight you do try and force here as Talon can immediately just not work out for you, as I suppose Lilgun are always ready to fight. And speaking of, they're going to relocate mid lane where they found Makoto with the Fiend's Grip. He just melts so quick, and so will Fly. And that'll be your tier 1 mid gone. It's that easy, John.
Yeah, just relocate, hit and run with the Disco Pony, melt the objectives, take control of the jungle, start really ramping up the farm on Sanctity. Sanctity is still keeping up. I mean, Gabby is slightly ahead, but I expect the TA to really ramp up. And again, you just compare the initial items to these cores. Gabby still going for the Lincoln's Rush, is flying out now, E-Blade next, compared to a TA with just the Dragonlance Deso coming out soon. It feels like that's so much scarier. It's so much more damage, it's so much more presence. Whereas for a Morphling, it's just so defensive. The E-Blade's still a long ways off as well, so that burst damage you have to deal with something like the IO, not going to be online for at least 5 to 7 minutes there. And that's more time Talon has to play slow, more time for Lilgun to keep being aggressive. That's the one thing Lilgun does have to do here, Mike. They can't afford to just sit back. They have to be able to just drag 4-2-3 around, pressure towers, force Talon to try to make some plays onto the wrong targets, and keep buying time for that TA to hit that initial Deso spike.
Oh, Ace 12 again in a good position here to break the smoke of Talon, but they do wrap around the long way.
Step lively now.
We'll at least find a bit of a more valuable pick off here onto 4-2-3, but he's going to try and back himself out. Talon, they are still just wrapping around, slowly but surely making their way over and closing the gap, but 4-2-3 still not within vision. Why? Not going to see them yet either, as they found the Bane instead, so they're going to try and commit here onto Ace 12, and it looks like Ace 12 may be left to die, but 4-2-3, he's coming in from the backside to just trade with Hyde, and it looks like he's found him. In the meantime, KP, he's been charged up, and that'll be a second. So he drops the arena, but it's just too late. Gabby, he'll rotate now with the Spirit Breaker form and trying to fight back with a great charge out on Kishka into the double Doran, into the double boat. They do get one in the IO, but 11's going to turn now back in onto Gabby, but Gabby, he'll strength morph and will be able to survive, at least for now. Meanwhile, Fly, though, he's falling low on the Ogre. They'll at least be able to get another support going for themselves. So Talon, they do end up kind of evening out that team fight. Not 100% sure who it does favor, but it still feels like it goes the way of Lilgun.
I think Lilgun does win out 2-for-3 trade. They managed to force out some uses of the arena. Sure, they drag in their TA to take that fight, but they also force in the Morphling to kind of respond. And I think that hurts the Morphling a lot more when he's not farming up, because he doesn't farm as fast as a TA in the jungle. You do have the mobility, but the clearing is there on TA. Decibel timing's there as well, and that's straight into Roche. With a DD on top, Mike, as is tradition, Roche doesn't take too long here.
Of course. CC Roshan here for Lilgun. Ace 12. Oh, he's got the Nightmare as well. Poor old Makoto just can't catch a break. The TPs are going to come in here from Fly to try and save, but not with the Fiend's Grip there. They'll land the stun. They'll have so much damage. Makoto just won't even stand a chance. It's now 4-2-3. Understanding how strong he is, wants to go for more and punish Fly. They're thinking about rotating up a top lane, but they will not be able to find him. The Ogre will survive. I can't say the same though for KP, who has been charged up here by 11 into the relocate. That's going to be another kill, it seems like, onto the Mars, but he's going to try and go for a run with the spear out. Sanctity should be able to keep the vision up with the trap game. But 4-2-3, oh no!
Ooh.
Oh boy, they relocated him out. 11. Has a charge for KP. No, KP's going to get away. Oh, Kishka's not going to be happy with himself with that one, John. That's a bit of an unfortunate relocate there from our IO.
Yeah, I think they figured he must have already been out. Go back to farming up top. They wanted to take that jungle space back with a Leshrac. And that's a nice slip away for KP. That's a lot of commitment coming out from Lilgun. So it's a small win for Talon and buying out more time for Gabby to build up. The E-Blade for our Morphling is almost up and running, so the burst damage is going to be there. BKB for Mikado is also not too far off. So those are the big item spikes that Talon are going to be playing around. They've really sacrificed KP's farm to do so, though. Our Mars is very far behind. No Hood of Defiance yet, although that should be done after this blink. At the least, they've got initiation now from their offlane, so they can try to get a good Arena Spear set up, kind of turn these fights their way. They are lacking the vision on the top jungle, though, which makes it really scary, because that's where Lilgun's constantly playing. They're going to look to force that tier 2, Mike, take the outpost, secure the next Roshan, and just maybe even think about high ground. With a Leshrac, it doesn't take too long to really rip through high ground at all, rip through these objectives.
No, that it does not. Stick around through the glyph. And the mid-tier 1 tower has been forced in by a creep wave. It might actually go down here, but they won't mind. They want that dire outpost. basically ensure that they can set up for the next Roshan whenever that's coming. Keep in mind, there's still plenty of time here on the Aegis, so they could potentially go high ground, but instead they're looking for the team fight. Sanctity gonna TP right in onto Fly, but it looks like he hasn't really spotted him out here on the TA. So the TP, it's just gonna amount to more farming. Mind you though, John, they do control both sides of the jungle here on the map, so... And if you're Lilgun, you're more than happy to just keep the farm escalating.
Yep, no issues kind of playing that game here again. You're not worried about a Morphling completely overtaking you, as you can't, you know, flash farm faster than the TA. So you're always going to be able to at least match the pace of the Morph, kind of counteract him. Gabby does have the E-Blade up, and the BKB is flying out for Mikato as well. So this could be the turning point. This could be the moment where Talon can start taking a few of those fights. They can hold their front line, look for the burst on the IO, and they will smoke up off the back of that.
But they will. See what they can get done with this Ethereal Blade here on Gabby. You've also got that BKB on Makoto. 9-second charge as Talon are going to find an amazing target here in 4-2-3, but it does feel like they have to go after Kishka first. So KP, he'll jump in. Spear is there into the Terrorize, but KP, he's dropping low himself. He's going to go down with Kishka, and now Gabby, he's been caught out. He tried to morph into the Leshrac. Uh-oh. Bit of a misclick there, I think, from Gabby, as he needed the Strength Morph instead. And now, well, they've found a third target here onto Makoto. That'll be another. There's just no stopping Lilgun at the moment. Not with this draft.
No, it's too aggressive. It plays into how Lilgun loves to play. Talon's just the direct opposite. They like to play slower. They like to hold on until late game. And that's a playstyle that Lilgun punishes well. They lose 3 cores for an IO Might. That's so costly to just finish off that glowing orb. They don't find anything off the back of it. They reveal their blink. They don't use the BKB, so there is that, but the high ground's definitely opened up here.
Well, they've got 30 seconds with the Aegis still intact. They are going to be able to pick off Sanctity once, but 4-2-3, he's going to move in onto KP and that Mars. He's just not tanky enough. They'll still try onto the TA. Sanctity, he does get melted down by the Ethereal Blade of Gabby. So it's a worthwhile trade here for Talon thus far. Can they find a bit more? They're going to try into Kishka. And looks like Lilgun are not interested in trying to help the IO out. Tether is, well, rather, relocate was still going, but it's only going to take him back further. And so Talon, that'll be a successful high ground defense for him.
Punching Lilgun, just getting a bit over-eager. They couldn't get the proper retreat off for Sanctity. Good drag back from KP, although it does cost them its life. They will smoke up again. They aren't really too reliant on many big cooldown spells. They can look to start to play a faster pace here. They still have that fresh BKB in Makato. And while the IO is down, this is a prime opportunity to look for pickoffs.
4-2-3, Turn X will be there, but a great nightmare dodge out from Ace Corp as 4-2-3. He's still been caught out, but he's so tanky. Gabby, he'll get with the right clicks. Terrorize was there. They threw everything but the kitchen sink, and they finally get him. Hyde, though, may drop, but no 11. Is unable to finish off the Nether Strike. So he is going to drop. And suddenly Talon now, the wants to turn this game number 2. At least for now. It's KP, he's jumped in for more. Kishka, there'll be another target taken down here for Talon. The only thing Lilgun got there was Hyde.
We managed to get Hyde. At the least, that kill did go the way of 11 somehow. Probably just dying while trying to cut off the back line or running through the tower. Lilgun, it does feel like they're being a bit too aggressive with their position. Talon's finding the punishment, and with the item spikes, it looks like it is giving them an opening. Lilgun have to be a bit cautious about that. They need their own BKB up in Sanctity now. Once you have that, you're kind of secure on your TA. They could wait out for the next Roshan as well, but Talon has an opening. They drag back that network lead. Only a 1k deficit for them to face off against. Big crash for the side of Lilgun. And now they can keep itemizing on Gabby. He can be that massive menace on the Morphling that you'd expect him to be. Going for the Scotty first, BKB afterwards. With the protection of the BKB and Lincoln's, it's going to be hard to pin him down. That is going to have to mean Lilgun, again, just pick and choose their fights. They're going to have their BKB on 11 soon. The BKB for Sanctity is still a ways off, but not too far. So it's going to be a game of patience now. They just hold back the aggression a bit on Lilgun, wait for some BKBs, get back into it afterwards. if you win one fight for Lilgun, high ground is just so quick, but the same goes for Talon. The right-click damage coming out from Gabby is going to be pretty high now, so objectives melt pretty fast for the Morphling as well.
We'll get started on that bottom tier 2 tower. They are going to be at some point forced to go back and defend the top tier 3, but it is just going to be a creep wave for now. Lilgun are not committing. Seems like both teams going to have to rely on that next Roshan. It might be an early one, John, because there is a DD rune just sitting there waiting. See if Roshan does intend on coming back very early, as we are going to find out in about 5 seconds when he wants to come back. And no, 2 minutes 15 seconds. Rather disappointing.
Yeah, long respawn means more stall time. It does. I don't think that favors either side too much. I think both sides kind of scale at the same pace. TA versus Morphling does tend to lean Morphling favorite towards the late game though. And you have this utility spread from Mikato with the Kunkka after the AC. He could go for Ags, he could go for his Ag Shard. Lots you can do in the front line with that. We haven't even seen like a Silver Edge or Shadow Blade coming out from him, so there's still damage to grow there for the Kunkka as well. Side of Lilgun though will start to smoke up, looking for a target to take out. Have to be cautious. If they're too split up, they can be punished with this movement.
Lilgun. They're smoked up, but can they find themselves a target? Then I have Skadi now up on Gabby, so they're going to go for a 5-man smoke. Charge out, 11. That'd be a great way to start, but he gets the BKB off in time, and he'll move back in. Onto KP, and well, again, KP, he just melts for Gabby now. He'll move in, but no, the Fiend's Grip, it's caught him out. He's going to drop the Terrorize. It was not there in time. And Makoto, well, he'll get caught as well. BKB or none, the bashes will still go through. 3 cores down for Talon Esports. Ace 12 with the Fiend's Grip, buying plenty of time to take down Gabby.
It's a dicey situation for Talon. No buyback in the morph. Short response on the board, but again, it doesn't take long for this lineup of Lilgun to mull through objectives. They're going to work onto mid, DD up in Sanctity. The physical output with the Edict, just so much. At least they have the Fortified to stall with. KP will be back up with the arena soon, so there's some counterfight here for Talon on defense.
How do you defend them? Like it does feel like you need Gabby up. He's down with that buyback for another 20 seconds. Now with the Diabolic Edict there from 423, can really get to work. They will try their best to slow it down, but in the end, that mid-Rax is not long for this war. But KP, he's going to jump in and try to punish, but it's only an arena spear out. And again, without Gabby around, it doesn't seem like they can really capitalize as KP's been caught again. Gabby now getting Bash first hit out from 11. He will still try to charge onto Kishka and will blow up that IO. But in the meantime, Makoto's going to end up dropping himself as Gabby is still trying onto 11. Charges there, but it won't help. Instead, Sanctity, he'll try not to fly. The blink out, but Gabby, he's not done yet. He'll go for more now. Back in onto the Templar Assassin. Ace 12, he's got the Fiend's Grip up in 5 seconds. He just needs the time to be bought as 423 will be focused. Hyde though, he's going to drop the Sanctity, but they've got Sanctity down now. But still, they've got Gabby caught out with the Fiend's Grip again from Ace 12.
Oh no.
And even without the mana, 423 has enough in the right clicks to get it done.
Are under attack.
Can you go high ground again, John? I mean, 423, he's not healthy at the moment.
He's definitely not healthy enough. He doesn't have the mana to really spam out his spells, so they're going to have to take a step back here. A good effort coming through from Talon ends up being a much more drawn fight than you'd expect for Lilgun. But Lilgun still managed to eke out just a little bit more. And they find a bigger kill in Gabby dying once more. Sure, they lose out on their TA, but they already found a Rax. And they're going to relocate in KP.
Yeah, he just can't get the break this bloke. Poor old KP. He's going to get taken out again. That'll be his 8th death of the game here on the Mars.
Oh my god.
And a
Look
double
at that.
damage rune. Before
Yep,
Roshan.
and Roshan's up. Isn't that great, Mike? That's going to open up a lot of possibilities there for Lilgun, but it looks like they're focusing in on shoving out these lanes. They want to just keep applying that pressure while Gabby's down. Maybe force a buyback as well while they're at it.
Well, you know Gabby's got no buyback gold here, John. They are very well aware of this. They aren't going to keep the pressure up, though. Gabby, he'll be back in 10. Respawn time is not too long at the moment. I'll go scout out that Roshan. Though nobody's found the DD rune yet. So Lilgun, they'll leave it be. The gift from Ice Frog not going to be taken or accepted here by Lilgun. Talon, however, they do see it with that ward, and they might still go grab it and try to go for this Roshan fight. No matter of whether they can make it in time. Roshan very low, they've got to be quick. And it looks like they're not going to be quick enough. They might still be forced to just go for the fight. It's 4-2-3. Go right onto Fly. Charges out from Gabby. He'll end up picking up Ace 12, but the buyback is there from Albane. He'll also find Kishka on the IO. So both supports dying here for Lilgun, but Makoto's also gone down the Kunkka as KB now again being caught out by the charge of 11, but the Terrorize gonna buy time as the Fiend Grip is out again. Gabby,
no.
he got caught out. He is still fighting though. 4-2-3 now to drop. They are still going. They've got 11 on that breaker, but he's going to commit the buyback. Buybacks must be on special drop because everyone's buying them. As Gabby, he will go back in onto Kishka. That'll be an ultra kill and also a dieback on that IO. But another charge out onto Fly is going to catch out the Ogre, and that'll be a rampage out for Sanctity. Gabby, I mean, he still could get a rampage, John, but he's got no HP or mana.
Yeah, he can't force that fight. He's cutting off the creep wave to at least prevent a little bit of that push. He's going to have to defend for a while. Respawns are short on Mikato and KT, so he'll be up to help with his high ground. They have forced a lot of buybacks out, but you still have the Aegis up on Sanctity. So your big issue with the TA, it's still going to run, and they're going to have to do something to prevent losing any more on the high ground. Sanctity will play it safe without the IO. There's some stall time here for Talon to get their bearings, get their house in order, but Lilgun have the lead once more, Mike. 30-25, 7k up. Rampage for Sanctity coming out because of all of those buybacks. His Silver Edge is almost done as well. Straight into a Hex next. So all the control and damage starting to fly out here for the TA. Oh god.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage onto Hyde. They've even silenced up Gabby. He is actually morphing right now, but they aren't going to be able to land the Nether Strike in time. Just hold out, Lilgun. Not trying to rush this game number 2. But it is really just anyone's game as Dota Plus. Well, Dota Plus doesn't agree with me, John. 89% the way of Lilgun, but you catch my drift. One team fight and you could throw all that in the trash.
Yep. It can flip on a coin just like that, and Talon are... I mean, they've got some decent high ground hold, you know. They've got the boat, they've got the arena. They have a lot of ways. They spear back.
Yeah, very nice spear out. That should be the Aegis gone, and will be. Great start for Talon. And they keep it going. 11, he's charged in, and they've got that primary target they love to start with. That'll be KP gone, but Ace 12, he will get focused and does go down. Gabby, he's in the middle of all this, still trying on a Kishka, but how long can he survive? The boat will fly in. That's Kishka gone, but the charge is out, and he was actually morphing again. Oh, he was actually morphing. No buyback. Oh, that'll be it, I think, as Fly will be the fourth to go down. Still no buyback gold on Gabby. That should be, I think, tier 4 towers into Ancient. I mean, they can't get Megas right now. Do Lilgun want to play that safely? Well, it looks like they may. Well, they don't know that Gabby doesn't have buyback gold, John. He never committed buyback.
Yeah, that's just unexpected. And I think the safe play is going to give Talon a little bit more time, but Lilgun have just managed to find everything they want. 2 lanes of racks up. They just need to clear out these outer towers bot. Not going to take too long for Sanctity to do that. So they still have a lot of tools to play with the Lilgun. It looked a bit dicey at the start because this is the same way Lilgun lost the high ground push on mid, where Sanctity got speared back to the racks, got taken out, and just everyone else couldn't back him up. This time that story changed a bit as they had a little bit more to survive, with the supports taking a bit longer to get pinned down. Managing to find Gabby was big, but there are still ways for Talon to play it. Like, that spear back is key. KP has to keep finding the right target to isolate and just immediately burst down. We'll see if they can do it again. Only 10 seconds left for Gabby, so that decision does cost Lilgun. But we'll see if Talon still has enough tank to hold on. 16k lead for Lilgun is nothing to scoff at. Gabby's only 4k behind a TA, which isn't too bad. But it just feels like Sanctity is doing a lot more in the front line. It just takes so long for Gabby to burst down the IO. Like, even now, he's coming in, he's E-blading, he's using his nukes onto that one hero, and Kishka still has to take a couple of right clicks afterwards to really die out.
Uh-oh.
So that moment where the IO still lives is just enough time for Lilgun to kind of look for the morph, isolate him, keep him stunned up, and get an opportunity to kill him off.
Can you believe this whole time John 11 never had the Ags? He charges right in.
Oh god.
Yeah, fly. He's gonna be okay. They'll cancel the charge, but well, now the Ags is finally up. And speaking of John, there's another Aghanim Scepter up right now. Ace 12 will pick one up. That's gonna be a real nuisance for Gabby. I mean, it's been very annoying this whole game for the Morphling thus far. As they charge in again and they've got KB. It just happens so fast. The relocate is there. 4-2-3. Who are we aiming? They'll go after flying versus Gabby. He's gonna try and focus down the IO, but can't go anywhere near him. 2 down already for Talon Esports. And it doesn't feel like it's gonna get much better anytime soon.
No. KP's a big part of that defense. Not having him there means that there's a bit of an opening here for Lilgun. Respawn is still short, so there's going to be some time to fight back, but Sanctity, that's his opening to just go high ground.
And he will. Torrent not even going to land here, as it looks like there was a nightmare to save Sanctity from that X-Pack. Charge out, fly, he'll cop it. Sanctity, he'll go in. Gabby, he does morph into the Spirit Breaker, going on to the Bane, trying to burst him down, and he does get him. Ace 12, he's gone. It's a great start. It's 11 now. He'll fall low. KB, he's onto Kishka. They want that IO, and they should be able to get him with the Ghost Form. He's going to buy some time, but the boat will fly in. So 3 down for Lilgun. As 4-2-3 will barely make it out. And it's still proving to be rather difficult to go high ground against the whole side of Talon.
Yeah, I think for the side of Lilgun, the moment they lose Ace 12, they lose their one piece of control to deal with Gabby. So you have to actually protect the Bane here. You don't want Ace 12 immediately bursting down. He has to get that Fiend's Grip off. If he can't, Talon has a very good fight on their hands. So heads up play from Talon, picking off that key support. They're starting to shift their gears away from the IO, focusing in on the Bane more, as it does feel like they've got the damage to deal with the IO sustain. Sanctity's still playing around here, but he is by himself. Can be a bit dicey, and there is an opportunity to shove in for Talon. They're going mid to tier 3 exposed. There's a DD for them to fall back to as well. They managed to
Fiend's Grip. Yeah, they've got Gabby, John.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I hate saying it. I hate saying it, but Ace 12, he's just too good. Gabby will get tipped, and this Bane has literally been the bane of Gabby's existence. As Gabby, or rather KP, is forced to BKB TP out of there. It's about all he can do. At least this time though, Gabby... Well, I'm not sure, John. He ran onto the high ground, started hitting tier 3 towers, and got Fiend Script.
But it's just... we just talked about it. Like, the reason they won that fight was because the Bane was gone. He goes in with the Bane respawn. He's like, all right, I'm fine here. Lincolns will protect me. He has 3 ways of breaking Lincolns. It's like, that's such a massive key. He does have buyback. Maybe Gabby can come in for the defense. They get the punishment off and turn it around again, but it's getting a bit dicey again.
They're going to try and a Sanctity. Buyback will be there. Gabby, he'll rejoin the fight, but the BKB was there in time, so instead he'll go after 4-2-3, but he's surviving next to Kishka. The IO keeping 4-2-3 alive, but Gabby will just keep going onto the left track and should be able to find both. And now the Torrent Storm will fly in as KP. He does find Sanctity. They've got the TA locked down. Sanctity doesn't have a BKB available right now either, so he's going to have to fight the old-fashioned way, and will try to. Gotta be high to drop. Meanwhile, Gabby is making his way over. Yeah, Sanctity's been pushed all the way into the fountain. It's going to be another successful high ground defense here for Lilgun. Or rather Talon, John. It's Lilgun. They just can't push.
I mean, this time around, Sanctity got speared back. He didn't get into the racks, so he had to run all the way back towards the fountain. He was just held off from joining that fight. Good spears coming out from KP to hold on there. And they do manage to find a punishment. Talon staying in the game. Have a lot of options. Roche in 15. Such bad timing for Lilgun, but perfect timing for Talon if they have the patience to see that next Roche. 2 lives on Gabby is going to make all the difference. Having that Torrent Storm flying out when BKBs are already so low for Lilgun is going to make these fights a lot more chaotic and even harder for Ace 12 to just focus in with a grip. So more tools coming through for Talon. Lilgun, they still have a big lead. But the momentum swing, it feels like it's behind Talon, Mike. Despite all odds, they're hanging on there. The next play I can see from Lilgun's maybe forcing a fight and then relocate, pushing with your Lesh and
Radiant's
TA.
top tower
Like just
is
melting
under
the tier
attack.
4s while the side of Talon's distracted could be the way to go. Well, let's see if they find an opening like that. Roche is spotted out by Talon. Not going to take long for Gabby to get to work on that one.
Absolutely not.
Radiant
Scan is there from Lilgun, but they won't have the heroes to try and fight back. So Roshan will be guaranteed to go the way of Talon Esports, and that'll be a refresher shot to come out. They gave that over to KP. So you could also give it a Makoto for the double Torrent Storm, double boat. For now, they want that double arena instead. Talon will just keep trying to pursue the rest of Lilgun on this map as Ace 12. He's got the Fiend's Grip this time onto Makoto, but KP is going to try and cancel. It won't be enough yet as 11 keeps going. Makoto's dropping really low. He'll try to BKB, but it's not going to help through the right clicks as Gabby. He'll join in, but he's dropping low himself. He's going to be very careful. He'll charge forward now. Back in onto 4-2-3 he goes. Onto that left rack, but he might just lose the Aegis here as he keeps going with that BKB out. He's still not dead, and now the he'll back up with the cheese. He will still survive as they'll go back in onto 11, and they'll find another. Great start here for Talon Esports. Sanctity now. They're trying to hide in that tree line and find a way out. The Silver Edge, he might just be able to make it, and it does appear he does.
Step lively now. Your
See if Talon can find any sort of objective out of this.
And they forced out some big buybacks on the supports at least. They only have to sacrifice Makoto's buyback. He's getting really hard to kill off with all the armor he has on hand and with the boat buff that can fly out. So it's taking longer for Lilgun to get that burst damage off. They force out the cheese use, but Gabby's really tanky now with the Satanic up. It's going to be hard to kill him off without a good grip. So even more pressure there in Ace 12, and now Talon can go for the smoke play. Then try to look for the closeout of the game. If they actually kill off these supports, this game might just be over. Like, you can't afford to lose Ace 12 here with a dieback. He has to kind of live as much as possible and try to set up.
They're going to try and creep skip.
Radiant structures are
The
fortified.
mid-racks they go. Charges there, but immediately cancelled by the Brambles.
Radiant's middle barracks are
You've got to love how fast 11's getting on this Spirit Breaker with those spider legs up.
Radiant's middle barracks.
It is kind of ridiculous.
Middle barracks has
They're
fallen.
going to try for a second racks now.
Radiant's bottom
4-2-3. He is not going to buy back on the left rack. Gabby
Radiant's bottom
able to
tower
secure a second. Won't be able to go for the Megas.
bottom barracks are
They're basically even out this game now against Lilgun. That's going to be enough. They'll have to slowly make their way up to the top lane and deal with those outer towers, but they've got plenty of time for that now, as it does seem like the struggles are starting to become very real for Lilgun. It's just lacking a way to deal with Gabby unless Ace 12 can land that big Fiend's Grip.
Yeah, they need that control. Like, the Hex is coming out, should be able to help. They've got the Hex up and running here on Sanctity, and he does have buyback for that, so the Sight of Ice might make all the difference if they do manage to catch out Gabby or Makoto before the BKBs fly in. We'll see if they can find their targets. Trying to dip outside. Good vision here from Talon if the smoke does break. They do spot out the ward as well being dropped. The sentry does get revealed, so smoke movement is kind of cancelled off, and now Talon could look for the wraparound if they want to.
But they could. They are smoked up as 3 here, Talon.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Lilgun are playing the avoid game right now, and not going to give the opening over. So it does feel like Talon, they might just force the top tier 2 and tier 3 tower. That's one way to get a fight started.
Dire's middle tower is
Problem is they will lose the Aegis before they get to that tier 3. So instead they'll just control the triangle. Try to get those tier 4 items up. I mean, they may barely have enough time to still force the fight and get that Aegis used up. Lilgun though, they just don't seem interested. They just keep split pushing the other lanes, trying to force Talon back.
Radiant's top tower is under
Gabby, he
attack.
doesn't really have a creep wave to really deal with this right now. We'll try the old-fashioned way. And he is getting through that backdoor protection, so I suppose it is working out for him. But there's no way he's going high ground without creeps.
No. Gonna have to be a bit patient. The side of Lilgun just pushing the opposite lane. Eventually someone's gonna have to respond here. It does feel like Talon is gonna be able to get to work when they want to with the creep wave coming in. Lilgun, their options, it just feels really limited, right? Like, at the least, again, Sanctity with Hex might be able to get the control off, but you're putting your PA in a very awkward spot. And I think the big issue now is every single time Gabby turns into the Spirit Breaker, he's so hard to pin down. Like, they've got to find a way to just pin down Gabby right off the start, and also simultaneously keeping Makato out of the fight, which is so much easier said than done. These are two very tanky targets. There's a lot of disruptive team fight coming out from both sides as well. Next Roshan is still a ways off. Age is set to expire in a few seconds here, so they will lose that moment of invulnerability for Gabby, and gonna have to wait at least 3 minutes, possibly longer for the next rush. That is an opening for Lilgun, as if they find Gabby now, that could be the opening they need to make their own place onto the high ground. Buyback for Gabby is only about 40 seconds off, though. He is going to be ready to jump back in these fights. And Mike, he's going for the Ags next. So we haven't even seen the silliness with the Dark Willow form. We could see the Ags upgrade on the Spirit Breaker for him now as well. Lots of things to do for Gabby towards this late game here.
It's going to be very, very fun to watch, that's for sure. He has been mostly morphing into 11 though, so we'll see what he does decide to do. You've got both options. I suppose with Hyde not really having the Ags up and Gabby didn't have it up either, the Shadow Realm form doesn't really help you too much. Once the Ags is there though, things get a lot more fun. So Talon, they've got to address the spot lane, John. I mean, this creep wave is slowly pushing in. Sanctity has not even left the lane. He's still just sticking around, making sure the Talon don't have an option. They have to come back at some point. You've just got those traps laying around to just keep these waves pushed out. Very hard position here for Talon Esports to make that final high ground attempt. Then again, they were in a much harder position about 10 minutes ago, so I'd say this is looking quite easy for them now. Slowly start to chip away at that top tier 3, but looks like they are going to probably wait for that next Roshan again.
Man, in that sense, you've got a better position here for Talon. You're holding on to the Radiant Triangle, so they've got an easy access point into Rosh. There's actually no trap here from Sanctity as well to keep watch on Roshan because he's playing bot lane so consistently. So they don't have the info as to when that rush will be up. No wards here from Lilgun. They're losing out in the map control aspect here. Getting a bit tough. Still, the shoving in is slowly but surely chipping away. That will always force a response out at the least. So we'll see if it will pay off. At the side of Talon, looks like they might actually just go for a play now.
He's going to rush into a tier 3 towers, 4-2-3. Going to land the split earth, but the X-Back is going to be there. And well, I suppose that's one combo we didn't talk about. John, you've always got the X-Back for Gabby to play it very safely. Sanctity, though, is split pushing right now and has forced the rotation out from KP. He's still not backing off here on the TA. Looks like he wants to keep going.
That does force Talon away, though. So they relinquish their position on the triangle, which gives an opening for Lilgun to maybe retake that part of the jungle, plant some wards, start to lock in for the Roshan. I think that's going to be the next big thing for both sides, as you mentioned there, Mike. And man, what a close game. Like that was such a huge lead for Lilgun if you look at the graph at 20 minutes onwards up until maybe around the 28-minute mark, and then just crash. Now it's just dead even. Either side could win off the back of a good fight. Roshan, it's a bit of a long timer here, Mike. 2 minutes. So neither side gonna have early time in that rush. I think that will favor Talon because the lane shoving out, they're always gonna have a good time there.
KP, he almost gets bursted down. Problem is, it was only Sanctity, so he didn't quite have enough by himself. Now with the Swift Blink, he might, but we'll need to think about the next Roshan for now, as Talon have already set up. It's going to be about a minute and a half before we do get to see that Roshan respawn. It's a bit of a long timer here for both teams. But I'd say that does kind of favor Lilgun a little bit more, considering they're the ones that need to try and catch their way back up now. And of course there's a DD rune just waiting there now for everyone. For the fourth time in a row.
Oh boy. That's going to make this next fight pretty spicy, Mike. Whoever finds that first. I think Sanctity would really love to have it. They will smoke up in Lilgun though, so maybe making that move now.
Gabby, gonna be X back, but he does have the DD rune. That's about 900 damage per right click right now on Gabby, so quite a bit of damage, I'd say. Can they force the fight, however? The 4-2-3 shows up to clear the wave. Sanctity will run right past them. They do have a gem on fly, but they're going to TP down to the bot lane to try and defend that instead. There is no creep wave available though here for Lilgun. It's almost like a bit of a bait to force the TPs back up around the down bot. It's going to be a 5-man smoke up here from Talon. They'd love to start with Kishka first. The Brambles, though, way off the mark, but KP is still looking for a target. Kishka not within vision here for the Mars, so KP does not make the jump. Talon still not going to find the target they wanted. And now Roshan is up and available for both teams. Thing is, though, there's a creep wave in the Radiant base, but a relocate now out. 4-2-3 going for the Megas, but the Terrorize is there from Hyde to force them back. Kishka, though, does have relocate there, so 4-2-3 and Kishka both going to be fine, but Roshan's happening. So they do eventually find Roshan here for Lilgun.
Immortality.
Pretty hefty loss here for Talon. They just don't know what to deal with right now.
Yeah, they're just way too split up. And that's some great punishment coming out from Lilgun. Secondary life there on Sanctity. Bonus lives on your IO, especially while Tether's up with the cheese. So a lot you can do there. Ags up for 4-2-3. So that's a Nihilism up. The AoE Ethereal might actually save these fights. It legitimately might just save these fights away, blocking off the physical output of Gabby, forcing him to be E-bladed up. Kind of stalls out for them, and that could be the item they need here. Just one racks away from Megas, that could be the turning point for Lilgun, but Megas at this point doesn't feel like it's really going to dictate that pace, because you do have wave clear with a Kunkka, you do have some wave clear as well with Morph, and even a Mars can kind of handle those waves, so it'll still give an economy advantage to Lilgun, but I think we're reaching that point where, unless you're pressuring tier 4s, it still feels like anyone's game mode.
And it does. KP gonna be careful and get spotted, but he's gonna make the jump in instead with a big arena around. They've got Kishka and they blow him up. He'll buy back though. Into this team fight as 4-2-3 still trying to do with Gabby on the side though. KP's been caught out with a charge of Gabby. He's dropping low. He's popped the Satanic. He will survive for now, but just barely as they make the jump back in onto the Leshrac. But now the charges are around. They're all locked down. Split Earth is there and they've got Gabby, I think. Or have they? He is still alive. Waveform away. It's just complete chaos in this team fight. But who's going to drop first? Who's going to lose this one? Talon can't really afford to, as they are still fighting this one out. 11 looks like he has been caught. Kishka, he might die back immediately in the IO, but still is alive. Gabby, he does finally go down, but he has the buyback call to reinitiate into this fight, and he'll commit it. This Kishka looks like he will finally die, but no, they saved the day with the Scythe of Vice. It's a 5v3 situation now for Lilgun, John. Talon, we'll see if they can defend this.
Yeah, this is a dicey spot. Lots of buybacks being blown out. Full buybacks from Talon, so it was a full team wipe twice over. Like 5 plus 2 more deaths with the diebacks. A huge opening for Lilgun. 1 racks left. They've just got to rip through this one, but Gabby could be a massive issue. He has a good amount of damage. He can turn into the Spirit Breaker form. Can be tough, but there's the Mega Creeps. Tier 4s. They've got to apply that pressure while this window is open for Lilgun.
They're going to try. Refresher Orb now up as well for 11 as Sanctity. He's made the jump in. Again, onto Fly. Almost finding the life of the Ogre. Fly still running. Is barely going to make it as Gabby now. Going to find a way to fight this one out. But the Nether Strike is there. 11. Another charge in. Refresh out. Another Nether Strike and Gabby's gone. He gets caught by the Fiend's Grip and the GG's been called. Talon cannot turn this game number 2 around. And Lilgun, they will save themselves from tiebreakers into relegation. Very good day here for Lilgun, I'd say, John.
Oh, God. What a game, too. What madness was that towards that last fight. 5 buybacks from Talon. Insane execution from both Lilgun and Talon to kind of eke their way out in this game. Game 1 was pretty close. Game 2 was a lot closer, going 52 minutes. And it looked like Talon was almost at the edge forcing that game tree out, but Lilgun managed to hold on. They find the angles, they catch out Gabby, and that was it. Like, the grips, Ace 12 was so key to those fights. Where, like, it was all down to the Bane. finding good grip, finding a way to keep Gabby pinned down. And if they could do that, they could clean up. Talon put up a really strong fight. Gabby turning to Spirit Breaker from his TNC days, maybe kind of missing that, getting the charges around, getting all the chaos in the fights. Mikado with the Ags as well. Windows, BKBs were faded. They did so much good work on Talon as well, but Lilgun just come out on top. They find these small mistakes. They got the punishment off. They had the TA for Sanctity. They had 423 Slush. This is a combination they've run multiple times as well. And they just managed to close out the game. What a back and forth, though. That was insanity at the end.
It was a fantastic series here between these two teams. And well, with that, John, that's not actually it for the night either. We do have Division 1 coming up in about 35 minutes. SMG against OB Neon should be a nice, fun matchup for us to finish off the night. Keep in mind, though, the stream might kind of disconnect and reconnect as obviously we have to bring the lovely panel in that we're going to have, John. But in 35 minutes or so, we'll have our second series of the night between SMG and OB Neon.